Hello everybody and welcome back to another video for the day. Now I'm gonna say what you're probably thinking, where's the nice guy video? Well, I kinda wanna shake things up on the channel, and it's one of the longest running ones, but unfortunately is starting to have a bit of a negative impact on the channel, so I kinda wanna see if shifting around stuff helps the channel in any way, shape, or form. Plus also some people have been asking about bringing this one back. So if you do guys in fact want to see more of the story time format videos like this one here today, be sure to hit that like button, leave a comment down below, and just say anything really. Just let me know what channels and what specific playlists or subreddits you guys would like to see in the channel, and I'll check it out, definitely. I'm always reading the comments and everything. And lastly, if you have not already, subscribe and turn on notifications. Alright, let's get into this. Our first story comes to us from username It Did Not Matter 17. I punched a neckbeard and I don't regret it. Okay, this will be a long one, so get comfy. The story starts at the beginning of high school, when I met our neckbeard. We'll call him Jay. He was a classical neckbeard, a very big guy with greasy hair, neckbeard, and a weird sense of style, and he smelled really bad. I'm a very extroverted person, and I knew almost everyone in school, but he really didn't want to talk to my friend group. It looked like he didn't like us. It all changed in spring, when I started going really early to school to squeeze in an early practice since I was preparing for an important boxing match. So when I would finish and go to the classroom, he was the only one there. I was very friendly with him, and we eventually found common interests anime. I liked watching it, and even though I wasn't as obsessed as him, he was really happy about it. So we would talk about it every morning until the rest of the class came, and he would retreat to his seat and be quiet. After some time, I noticed he would come to the bleachers even earlier, and he would watch me run and do exercises. I found it a bit weird, but didn't pay much attention until one morning he saw I was running with a guy from senior year. He asked me later if he was my boyfriend, and he sounded very pissed. I said no, he was just a friend, which was true, but he didn't believe me since he was a very handsome guy with tons of literal fangirls around the school. But I didn't really care to explain myself to him. He would also come to my after-school practice to watch, which was starting to be a bit annoying. Him following me around, but not being friendly around my friends. In sophomore year, I started training even more intensely, and didn't really have time to talk to him before or after class. But he did start messaging me saying how cool I was and different because I'm very masculine and have very short hair, and because of liking anime and video games. I really didn't like that because a lot of girls are like that, and it made me feel uncomfortable when he called me a goddess. I told him that, but he never really stopped, even though I rarely replied to his messages. In junior year, I met a girl that I really liked. Eventually, I asked her out, and we started dating. We were both openly gay at this point, and everyone knew we were dating, except, I guess, Jay. One day, I had a match, and all of my friends came to watch me. Jay was there as well, in the corner alone, watching. I won the match, which was a very big deal for my career, and my friends immediately jumped to congratulate me. While Jay was on his way towards me, my girlfriend came to me and we kissed. He stopped wide-eyed and then left quickly. Later that night, he texted me and told me how she doesn't deserve me at all and that I can change you, S. I was very mad at this point and started ignoring him completely. One Saturday evening, our whole class and lots of other people went to a birthday party. We all got a bit drunk, and I'm a very friendly drunk, so when Jay came to me on the dance floor, I wasn't acting like I wanted to kill him. And he took that as a sign as we were friends again, I guess. After some dancing, I went to the sofa to sit with my friend, with my girlfriends in my lap, and that was when he disappeared. We all thought he went home early since he didn't like parties, but God, were we wrong. I had to use the restroom, which was outside, and my girlfriend was waiting for me in front. When I came out, I saw her about 20 meters away with him all about her. She was trying to move away from him, but he wouldn't let her. I quickly started moving towards them, and that's when he grabbed her wrist and waist very tightly and she screamed. That was when I lost it. I stomped him and punched him right in the face, and trust me, I punched really hard. He fell to the ground and his hands on his nose, which was bleeding intensely. My girlfriend pulled me away and we went home soon soon after that. His face was blue for days after that, and he never came near me or my girlfriend again. He's still very much a neckbeard, even worse since he got very perverted, but no one talks to him in school since they all heard what happened that night. I'm really not an aggressive person, and I never punched someone before or after that outside of the ring, but God, I really don't regret it. Our next story comes to us from username Anonymous Griper. Neckbeard customers working with Bratbeard. Hello again, readers. I am a specialist writing coach from Wales and have a few neckbeards for customers, so I figured I'd share them here. Let's call this one guy Bratbeard. He had a thing for two young female characters from a French animated series. I'm going to hold off from naming the two main characters by their actual names to protect the bearded, so I'll call them something slightly different. The two characters in question are Amy and Eve. He'd written a fanfic that he wanted me to edit, but first he wanted me to truly get the essence of what Amy was like so that I knew what kind of characterization he was aiming for. I had never heard of this animation until this point, so I said I'd look it up and get a sense of her from any media I could find. When left to my own devices, I can get a handle on unfamiliar characters in around half an hour, and don't charge for the extra time I spent doing this research. He told me that this wouldn't be good enough, and it was imperative that I watch the series in the original French. I barely speak Pidgin French, and don't have the fluency in it to really get tone of voice, not even with subtitled works. So I voiced my doubts about this, but he was adamant. He had a link to a folder of videos of the entire first series and wanted me to watch the whole thing to make sure I understood Amy's personality. I wondered how long the runtime for that much content was, so I looked it up. About 9.5 hours. So I told Bratbeard that if he wanted me to watch it all, then I'd have to charge, and I would do so at my base rate of £15 per hour. That would have a cost of him about £142.50. He balked at that and said that actually Amy only had major parts in 2 or 3 episodes, so I only needed to watch those. I still charged, but he was happy to pay the required amount, and I tried to watch them. The videos he linked to me didn't play for some reason, so after a bit of fruitless tinkering, I gave up and found the equivalent episodes elsewhere in English. By the time I had watched all 3 episodes, I thought I had a good handle on Amy and prepared myself for a game of spot the difference between her canon representation and the version he would show me. A fanfic, Amy was a brat. I understood that canon. Amy could be quite childlike, but I hadn't gotten an impression of her as bratty. Bratbeard's depiction wasn't an accurate representation of brattiness either, especially not the way Amy would be likely to do it. Let me explain. In the story, she was upset from being forbidden from attending some kind of royal state visit by her father and had been left behind at home. She was bored, and in this story, she was also tired. None of that's going to bring out the best in anyone, but if someone was upset at feeling rejected, bored, and tired, then I'd expect them to go through a cycle. That cycle would be as follows. Expression of frustration or irritation at someone who isn't a deserving recipient due to compromised impulse control. Immediate regret for uncalled for treatment of that person. Attempts to either be quiet and say/do nothing else to attack that person, or to make it up to the person they mistreated. Another expression of frustration or irritation at someone who doesn't deserve it. Rinse and repeat until they get some sleep and either make peace with their feelings of rejection or get an apology from the rejector. It's a common cycle, and most of us see it all over the place in real life on a regular basis. I think if you are going to present a character going through this cycle, then you should endeavor to make sure that your readers feel the character's regret and frustration at themselves just as much as their irritation. Otherwise, it's unrealistic. Fanfic. Amy did not go around the whole cycle. Although she snapped at the people/huffed/rolled her eyes multiple times, she was irritable and easily frustrated by the events of the story, but never tried to curtail herself or repair the relationships or reputation she was damaging. In fact, she was portrayed as feeling entitled to treat everyone that way. It turned out that the story was a kink fic, and in it, Amy would upset the wrong person by being bratty and then get her comeuppance. It was a standard humble and haughty fic. As such, it relied on misrepresenting both Amy and the tired, upset, irritable dynamic to work. If either she or the irritability cycle had been presented properly, then Amy's feelings and actions would have looked relatable. The reader would have been likely to sympathize, and that would destroy the setup for the kink that Bratbeard was going for. I specifically market myself as someone who helps people write good quality characterizations, so at this point I had a dilemma. Did Bratbeard want me to do what I market myself as doing, or would break his story? Or pretend that his characterization was just fine and watch him churn out poor quality work and then possibly recommend me to other people who also like to write this kind of content. I decided that I didn't want more work like this, and I'd rather put my effort into finding customers who genuinely wanted good characterization. So I decided to be honest with Bratbeard on the slim hope that he'd find value in it. He wasn't so happy about it. I've got a couple of other issues here to note. In addition to Amy, there was also an elderly character in this story, someone who didn't fit the description of a scantily clad pretty young woman, but who featured enough in the story that the quality of her characterization would impact on its overall quality. I recommended to Bratbeard that we look at her characterization too. He told me that not everything had to be analyzed. I'm not going to say I thought that he only considered the young, sexy character worth of proper analysis, and that he was prepared to ignore the old crone for being, well, old and cronish and unsexy, but I'm not going to say I didn't think that either. One more detail worth sharing here is about Bratbeard's idea of Amy's cultural background. Anyone familiar with the animation I'm talking about will know that Amy is a forest princess who lives in a tree. To me, that means she would be comfortable with bugs. But during a part of the story, Amy freaks out over a bug in her house. I really didn't think it reflected the fine-tuning of Amy's characterization he'd insisted on back when he wanted me to watch the animation in its original French to get every scrap of Amy's nuance. But he didn't seem to want to think about that now that we were about to launch into the kinky bit of the story. I pointed the bug issue out to Bratbeard as an obvious issue. He didn't like that either and decided to keep it in. I stood my ground and he reluctantly adjusted the story. He had 2 sessions with me and then disappeared, never to book anything with me again. TLDR, Beard wants me to help him achieve pinpoint accuracy on a young, pretty female canon character in his fanfic, and then ignores most of my advice because it interferes with him writing his kink. And with that is going to have to be it with the video. If you guys want to see more videos like this, and for me to bring back more of these storytime format videos, be sure to hit that like button, and let's actually see if we can get this video alone to about 1,200 likes. That kind of seems like an appropriate and easy thing to be done in 24 hours. And also, leave a comment down below of stuff you would like to see happen with the channel, and if you have not already, subscribe and turn on notifications. I'll be sure to see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and bye-bye.